So you see this TV? It's a fine TV, a modest TV. But this center, this beautiful entertainment space that is this far from the throne of the king, absolutely could be bigger. Hey, how was the lake? Yeah? Yeah, was it hot out there? Look at all these bottles, yes, good times. Who knows? You looking up Who's up there? Who's up there? Yeah.
First I thought, well, did they bring the TV? No, that TV.
No. Yeah. Tubbs is in on it too. Yeah. It came from the store. Yeah. Happy early whatevers, cause you. No, true story. Really? Yeah, you needed a bigger TV, and that TV right there was too small, and it was all Chelsea's idea. She was like, he sits so far from the TV, and it's so small. It's so small, and so why not have a yeah.
We were scared it might not fit.
Yeah. And she wanted to get a bigger one.
I was like, I want the biggest one.
Nah, that one will be good. Yeah.
Y'all are beautiful.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Move.
Yeah. What's going on, folks? It's Rock-Kalan back here on Energy in Motion with you to unpack that crazy box of feelings. And the month of April is coming to a close. We have been talking about men, focusing on their emotions, their emotional intelligence, their experiences, their motivations, their drives. And we are going to close out with one of my most favorite men. Not one of, the most favorite men in my life. My dad. So I know that you probably got to check out the video that has been posted on 3 Motion. This weekend, me and Chelsea and my brother Judah pitched in and surprised my dad by getting him a 65-inch flat screen smart TV because he had a very small 32-inch TV, and subtitles are small on those TVs, and the people are small on those TVs. And my daddy deserves as big a TV as his heart is. And so this whole episode is talking about being a go-giver, which is something I was raised seeing my father being, and that's influenced me to grow up to being the very same thing, a big-hearted go-giver. So I'm gonna talk to you about what that is. But first, have you subscribed? Have you subscribed to this channel? If you have, awesome. If you haven't, this is a loving reminder to do so. Just makes it easier when we pop up in May with the next episode for you to have us at your fingertips. And whether you subscribed previously or you just subscribed, make sure you share this video with people in your life who need to hear emotional, intelligent conversations. I'm talking about the men, I'm talking about the women, I'm talking about the children. Most of the time these episodes are pretty clean. There are a couple of cuss words that flow through, but trust me, the music you kids are listening to is much, much worse. Put these episodes in front of them. So the reason why I feel so confident to talk to you about what you should talk to your kids about is because I'm bringing on the man who taught me what I should be talking about, which is giving. If any of you have ever heard of the book The Go-Giver, you probably know the premise. It's the idea of being a go-getter, but understanding your greatest success comes from how successful you are at giving to other people. If you want to grow your business, grow how many people you serve. If you want to make yourself stand out, be a lot more intentional with how you give to the people And so my father, having been an entrepreneur, having been one of the most responsible out of all his siblings, having been one of the greatest people who I know who loves to give to people, was the perfect go-giver that I wanted to touch base with. Because giving is always fun and beautiful and feel good, right? Wrong. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes we feel taken advantage of. And I wanted to have, at the end of this month of men's emotional intelligence, an honest conversation with a provider who probably has a lot of needs he needs provided for too. So I hope you sit back and relax and enjoy this very honest, vulnerable conversation between me and the go-giver that is my dad. Being a person who has been relied on for the majority of your life, how has that influenced your relationship with giving and receiving?
I mean, there may have been that subconscious level where all that had been bubbling over, and yeah, I know maybe about it. It definitely was there. I think a lot of the arguments your mom and I had in the past was because she didn't recognize it, but in a lot of respects, in my heart, she treated me like everybody else had always treated me. I was there for their use, and I was there to provide. But there's also in the nature of a man that is part of his responsibility was to provide, was to protect and provide. And so I knew there wasn't a whole lot I could do about it. I mean, that was how I was raised. It's almost in the nature of a man, a good man, I believe. I mean, to do those kind of things. So it wasn't like I could stop doing it, even if I had any desire to, and I never had any desire to stop doing it. But it doesn't mean, I think in the back of my mind, there was always that wish and that want, and that someone would want to give back to me. Once again, not to reciprocate necessarily the material value equally, but just wanted to give to me for me. Not for any other reason, not because I did this or not because I did that or because, but because, they wanted to do like what I felt I was doing was giving to them. But in hindsight too, I look at that, I think there was probably part of me that wanted that wasn't just giving for the sake of giving. I was conditional in my giving.
So I want to provide a little bit of backstory about my father, especially when he was speaking to the things that could have been bubbling under the subconscious for him, because he grew up as one of the youngest of 8 kids and ended up being one of the more responsible individuals, as I mentioned, meaning that at like 12, 14, he was out, he had a job, he used to go to the grocery store and stock food before he'd go to school, and any money he got from that he used for his nieces and his nephews that his older siblings had their kids, but they didn't always have the money to provide for them. So anything he did, anything he went above and beyond to do was always shared with or given to other people. And that flowed into when he grew up and got married. He was so used to being that knight in shining armor, and because he found a lot of value and self-worth in that, when he got married and his wife, my mom, was expecting the same things out of him because of her upbringing, it probably just got heavy. Like, this is a lifetime sentence to having to carry people. Who's gonna look out for me? And I don't think we give men safe spaces to say who's gonna look out for me, because men are supposed to look out for themselves. We need to create more spaces. I know I am making it a point to create spaces, at least for the men in my life, for them to be able to say, like, I need this. And for them to feel empowered to say that. And especially what he was speaking to at the end of his comment, sharing honestly about how he probably was giving with conditions as well. I think all of us are. And I think it's very unrealistic of any of us to say that we are not, because as soon as someone does something that makes us feel disrespected, taken for granted, we are so quick to feel justified and entitled to take away our giving heart, our giving nature. And so when we think about giving, if we aren't being realistic and honest with ourselves and saying, yeah, I know I'm a conditional giver, then we need to do a lot more self-evaluation.
And even now, what I want out of a relationship is to be able to give unconditionally, because that's who I am and because that's how I show love. And in a lot of respects, I feel that's the way God shows me love. He gives, and it's not just in the material sense. It's I mean, in health and in great kids and so many different ways that he gives. And it's like there's this circle. I mean, I remember hearing an example once. It's like this vicious circle of God giving to you and you giving, and God giving to you and you giving, and God shoveling his greatness and his love and giving to you and you shoveling it back to him. Only thing is, God's got a bigger shovel. Mm-hmm. and that's the way, that's how I live life. That I'll always be able to give. It'll never run out because he's the one shoveling it in with the bigger shovel. I think what has caused what I've allowed me to suffer from is that part of my personality that feels that I'm owed a debt as a result of my giving. That somehow there needs to be a return or I'm being used. And that's just, it's not true. The self in me, that part consciousness of me knows better. I mean, it knows that that's not how life really is. There really isn't anything I want or need. There really isn't. And to feel that I'm lacking or deprived in any way, shape, or form is in error. It's a falsity, and it really has no ground.
And this is why I love the resiliency of people. Even if you had a life where you might not have always been given back to, you might not have always had the things you shared reciprocated, you still have the opportunity to realize through your connection to source, whether you call it God or the universe or Aya or Allah, you get to decide what you are going to make of your ability to give. Are you going to look at it as a weakness where you feel like you're being taken for granted? Or are you going to look at it as a strength because you have an unlimited source coming to you as an unlimited being? We look too much at ourselves as being human beings. Yeah, there are countless limits on that. But you are a limitless being by all other rights. And there are things that you have been given that you are meant to share with others that you have to decide, are you mature spiritually and emotionally enough to say, yeah, maybe nobody else is giving it to me, but I'm not running out of my resources of love. I'm not running out of my resources to share and to give joy and to uplift. So I'm going to keep giving, trusting that that unlimited source that feeds me will continue to do so. And with that being the mindset, I can be excited and surprised in pleasant ways when things work out for me and when I am given to. So I asked Dad and inquired about, had there ever been times where he was surprised at how someone had given to him in a way that blessed him? And he told me the two dopest stories.
We were at a timeshare presentation in Mexico, in Cabo, Mexico. And I'd already bought property from these folks and had a bad experience with them. And we're sitting at that presentation, more so to resolve some things. And the person talking with me, the management person talking with me, made some claims that weren't true, that weren't accurate. And your mom jumped up out of that chair and stood over that woman. And I mean, basically, that's the first time I've never seen her do it before, and I've never seen her do it since. Get that aggressive with someone. I mean, to the point of looking like she was ready to slap the mess out of her. And it was all because she felt the woman was questioning my integrity and questioning what I was telling her. and she stood up for me. And to me, that was giving. I mean, in a big way, but it was a major surprise. It was a major shock. I mean to see her do that, a major turn on. I mean, to see her do it because somebody was standing up for me. Somebody, I mean, was not for them, not for their sake. They were protecting and providing for me.
Mom was great like that. God, she was a big Care Bear, but she was a grizzly bear when she had to be. And I'm proud to have inherited that from both of my parents. I come from loving people, but people often sleep on us loving folks like that makes us passive. We are very passionate, and we are very assertive. Not aggressive, but assertive. And I can only imagine my dad having been the protector all his life, to see his lioness pop up like,
"Nah, brad, I don't know what you think this is, but it ain't that."
Oh, I would have loved to have been there. Story number 2 is pretty great too. It goes back into his childhood.
Janice Polite, when I was in like the 5th or 6th grade, we were taking these exams. They kind of were to determine how smart you were, and it kind of ranked you. I mean, in the school system and things of that sort. And we took this exam, and then what the teacher did that day was have us exchange papers to grade the exams. So we exchanged papers. She grades mine, I grade hers. I really don't remember how well I graded her. I mean, what her grade was. She graded mine, and I know either because I skipped a lot of questions, that test that day, I think I did badly on it. I knew I did. But she either corrected things or altered the score somehow, and I did real well. And it altered the course of my education. And I knew she did it, and she acknowledged that she did it without a whole lot of words ever passing between us. And to me, that was probably one of the most unselfish, loving, and undeserved things that were ever done. But I don't know how it altered so much for me, but it did. To this day, we're talking 5th or 6th grade. But I remember it to this day, and
so almost 5 decades ago.
Yeah. I still credit her, for having made a difference. And like I said, I don't remember all the details even now, but I remember I can even picture her face and looking across at her. It's almost like she said, "I got you back."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Janice, I just appreciate the impact you had on my father's life so long ago, because it still matters now. He still remembers the impact of just one person saying, "You can make a mistake. I'm not going to let them find out. I'm not going to let them get you just because you can't help you right now. I'll help you." We need more young Black men to have these epiphany moments where they realize, yes, I am strong. Yes, I can carry amazing weights, including family, including responsibilities. I can do all of that. But I don't have to expect that no one else will look out for me. I can't expect that along the way there will be kind people, there will be gentle people, there will be rational people who will see that I might be a man, but I am a human being, and sometimes I need help. So thank you, Miss Polite. Thank you for letting my dad know early on that help will always find him. So as he and I wrapped up this episode, I asked him a question that I thought would be really good for a take a beat moment. I asked him, since he was growing an understanding of himself, how did he fill his cup in intentional ways so that he could continue to be a go-giver? And he gave a fabulous answer.
In my continued pursuit of of understanding more of the self that I am. And recognizing that self is actually living out all of this through me, not me living to learn about the self so that I can be the self. It's the self is really living out all of this, not through the personality, but through this existence. I mean, in whatever way. And that's why there can be no lag. There can be no mistakes. There can be no, that whatever is happening here and being experienced here is just not even about any agenda that I could come up with. Life really is being lived out. And this is the form, I mean, right now that it's being lived out through. But there is I don't even want to call it a being. There is an existence that is doing all of this. I mean, and he already knows the beginning and the end and the in-between. And it's just, I mean, and it's all good. It's just all good. I mean, with all the diversity and idiosyncrasies, and I mean, it's still all harmonically set in place and working out. I mean, for the absolute best. It just is. And as we learn to continue to remind ourselves of that, then those things that we originally thought were the true and real us kind of fade away. And not sadly, I mean, but they fade away to bring forth all that we probably at one point feared. We really did fear the possibility of being what we really are. We feared it because it was too big to imagine. We feared it because it was too awesome to actually contemplate. That's the actual reality. That's the actual truth of who we are, as opposed to all the facade that we've created, I mean, to protect ourselves in the past.
Yeah. And not needing so much protection now, too.
Not needing any.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Well, you did fabulous, Daddy. That's it. Those are all my questions.
Well, that was a smooth and concise.
I do love that man. Y'all don't understand. I love this man. So thankful to be a part of his life, to have him as a part of mine. Even if he wasn't my daddy and I just got to meet him and to have him rub off on me, that would have been enough this lifetime. But to have been granted him as my physical father, man, it is good. It is good to live this life. I want to thank you all for tuning into this episode. I hope that you learned you don't ever have to worry about running out. You will always have enough to give, but you have to make sure that you feed yourself. Your cup runneth over, and from there you will be able to give to so many others. Don't worry about being taken advantage of. I'm not saying to let people walk over you, but when it seems like people don't appreciate what you gave, it doesn't change the fact that you did the right thing and you gave. And that leads by example. An example that maybe sometimes it'll take people a little while to tune into and to follow, but an example nonetheless. So thank you, each and every one of you who listened to this episode, for being an example, for listening to something that feeds you, that grows your emotional intelligence, and that also supports and gives, because you give to me more than you know every time you tune in. So thank you, Energy in Motion family. And as always, you get to feel whatever you may feel, and you will always deserve to heal. I love you, Daddy. Peace.